All right, let's set the stage for a pretty epic showdown. In one corner, you've got seasoned professional human recruiters, people who do this for a living. And in the other corner, a voice AI. The challenge was simple. Conduct tens of thousands of real job interviews and see who's better at finding the right people for the job. Not based on a gut feeling, but on cold, hard data.
You know, the experts, the recruiters themselves, they were pretty confident they knew how this was going to turn out. They basically said, look, this AI is going to flop. It just can't handle the nuance, the complexity, the human side of a job interview.
But what if that gut feeling, that common sense idea, was just completely wrong? Well, that's the massive question at the heart of this incredible real-world experiment.
To get to the bottom of it, researchers teamed up with a huge global recruitment firm. They decided to run this groundbreaking study, basically pitting human recruiters against an AI in a massive head-to-head hiring competition.
And we're not talking about some small lab experiment here. No. This was over 70,000 real people applying for real customer service jobs. The scale is just massive.
So here's how it worked. Applicants were randomly dropped into one of three buckets. Some got interviewed by a person. Others talked to an AI voice agent they called Anna AI. And a third group, they actually got to choose which one they preferred.
Now, this is probably the most important detail of the whole setup. The AI was not the one deciding who gets hired. Not at all. Its only job was to conduct the interview and gather information. After every single interview, doesn't matter if it was with a human or with Anna AI, a real human recruiter looked at the file and made the final call. This was purely a test of the interview itself.
So after all that, after more than 70,000 interviews, who won? Well, let's just say the results were not what anybody saw coming. Seriously, the findings just completely turned all the expert predictions on their head. It was a total shock.
So first off, the people interviewed by the AI were a full 12% more likely to get a job offer.
But it gets better. They were also 18% more likely to actually take the job and show up for their first day. And here's the real kicker. They were 17% more likely to still be at that job 30 days later. So the AI wasn't just filling seats, it was finding better hires who actually stuck around.
I mean, you can see it right here in the numbers. When a human did the interview, about 8.7% of applicants got an offer. But when the AI did it, that number jumped to 9.7%. That's a huge, undeniable win for the AI.
So that leads to the million-dollar question. How? How in the world did a machine do a better job than a trained human professional? Well, the researchers dug into the interview transcripts to figure it out.
So first thing they found, the AI was just more consistent. It was more likely to run what they called a comprehensive interview. That just means it didn't forget to ask about the important stuff. It consistently covered all the required topics way more reliably than the humans did.
But this is where it gets really interesting. The AI actually changed how people talked. When they analyzed the language, they found the AI was better at getting people to use the kind of language that actually predicts a job offer. Things like a richer vocabulary and more real conversation. Maybe people just feel less judged by a machine, so they open up. And at the same time, the AI's interviews had less of the stuff that doesn't really matter, like all those little uh-huhs and yeahs we do. So more of the good stuff, less of the fluff.
Okay, so we know the AI gets better results on paper. But what about the people involved? What did the applicants and recruiters actually think about this whole thing?
You might want to sit down for this one. When people were given the choice, human or AI, a whopping 78% of them chose to be interviewed by the AI. Now, part of that is just simple convenience, right? The AI is ready to go 24/7. But there was another really fascinating layer to it. It turns out that applicants with lower test scores were actually a bit more likely to choose the AI. The researchers think maybe those candidates felt less confident and the AI seemed like a less intimidating, less judgmental option. And get this, the AI's involvement even changed how the recruiters behaved. When they were reviewing an interview done by a human colleague, they put a lot of weight on that person's interview score. But when they reviewed an interview done by the AI, they subconsciously started to trust the hard data, the standardized test score, a lot more. It's a fascinating little psychological shift.
So, let's zoom out. What does all of this mean for the future of hiring? What's the bottom line here?
Well, from an operational standpoint, it's kind of a mixed bag. The AI was way faster at getting people scheduled and interviewed, but it created a new problem.
It took the human recruiters over 6 days longer to review the AI interviews. So they saved time on the front end, but then it created a new bottleneck on the back end.
So let's just boil it all down. What did we really learn here? Well, for one, AI can actually beat humans at really complex conversational tasks. It seems to do it by just being better at gathering the important info. We also saw that people adapt in really interesting ways. Applicants often prefer the AI, and recruiters change how they look at the data. But it's not some magic fix. It creates brand new problems like those review bottlenecks that companies will have to figure out.
And that really just leaves us with this one final, pretty wild thought. For as long as we can remember, the job interview has been this uniquely human skill. So if an AI can now do it better, what other supposedly human-only jobs are next?